Have you ever wondered if one tiny, almost invisible muscle in your body could quietly influence your blood sugar every single day? Most people spend years worrying about sugar, calories, and complicated diets without realizing that the answer may already be hiding inside their own legs. This overlooked muscle is so small that you cannot see it in the mirror, and chances are you have never heard its name. Yet scientists discovered something remarkable about it. When activated correctly, it can help remove glucose from your bloodstream in a way that surprises even medical researchers. Even more amazing, it can do this while you are sitting comfortably in a chair. No expensive gym membership, no exhausting workouts, no complicated fitness routine. Just one simple movement that could make a meaningful difference in how your body handles sugar after eating. Researchers studying human metabolism found that this hidden muscle can become one of the body's most effective natural tools for controlling blood sugar. Participants in one carefully designed scientific study performed an easy movement while seated, and the results were astonishing. Their blood sugar after meals increased far less than expected, and their bodies required much less insulin to manage that sugar. Imagine helping your body work more efficiently without completely changing your daily routine. Before we reveal exactly how this works, take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you enjoy practical health information explained in simple language. Every bit of support allows us to continue sharing evidence-based advice that anyone can understand. Now let's begin by understanding what really happens inside your body every time you eat. Many people hear the word glucose and immediately think of something dangerous. In reality, glucose is not your enemy. It is one of the most important sources of energy your body has. Every second of every day, billions of cells rely on it to stay alive and perform their jobs. Your muscles depend on glucose to move. Your organs use it to keep functioning. Most importantly, your brain relies on a constant supply of glucose because it cannot store large amounts of fuel for later. Without enough glucose, concentration disappears, thinking slows down, and even simple decisions become difficult. The real issue is not glucose itself. Problems begin when too much glucose enters the bloodstream all at once. This usually happens after eating foods rich in carbohydrates, including bread, rice, pasta, potatoes, pastries, sugary drinks, desserts, and even certain fruits. During digestion, these foods are broken down into glucose molecules that travel into your bloodstream. Under normal circumstances, this process is perfectly healthy. Your body was designed for it. However, imagine filling a small river with far more water than it can comfortably carry. The current becomes stronger, the banks experience more pressure, and the entire system has to work harder to keep everything under control. Something very similar happens inside your body when blood sugar rises rapidly after a meal. Your bloodstream suddenly carries a large amount of glucose, and your body immediately begins searching for a solution. That solution comes from an organ called the pancreas. Hidden behind your stomach, it constantly monitors the amount of sugar circulating through your blood. The moment glucose starts climbing, the pancreas releases insulin, a hormone that acts like a messenger and transporter at the same time. Its mission is simple: move glucose out of the bloodstream and deliver it into cells where it can either be burned for energy or stored for future use. Much of this glucose travels into your muscles because muscles are excellent at using fuel. Another portion is stored inside your liver in the form of glycogen, which serves as an emergency energy reserve whenever your body needs extra fuel between meals or during physical activity. But what happens when those storage areas are already close to full? This situation is becoming increasingly common because many people spend long hours sitting at desks, driving, or relaxing on the couch after meals. When your muscles are inactive and your liver already has plenty of stored fuel, your body must find another place for the remaining glucose. Instead of letting that extra sugar float endlessly through your bloodstream, your body converts much of it into stored fat. It is an efficient survival mechanism that helped our ancestors during times of food scarcity. Unfortunately, in today's world of constant food availability and reduced movement, that same system often works against us. Meanwhile, your pancreas continues releasing insulin until blood sugar begins falling again. Sometimes it works so effectively that glucose levels drop faster than your brain would prefer. Suddenly, the fuel your brain depends on begins disappearing from the bloodstream more quickly than expected. This is the beginning of what many people know as the afternoon energy crash, a cycle that affects millions every day without them realizing what is truly causing it. And understanding what happens next changes everything. As your blood sugar begins dropping after that rapid rise, your brain immediately notices the change. Unlike many other organs, the brain depends on a steady supply of glucose to keep everything running smoothly. It cannot simply switch off or wait until more fuel becomes available. The moment glucose starts falling too quickly, your brain treats it like a warning signal. Without you even realizing it, your nervous system starts sending powerful messages throughout your body. Suddenly, your energy seems to disappear. Your eyelids feel heavier than they did an hour earlier. Concentrating on work becomes surprisingly difficult. Reading a report, answering emails, or solving simple problems suddenly feels like pushing through thick mud. Many people describe this feeling as brain fog, but in reality, it is your body trying to conserve energy because its preferred fuel has temporarily become less available. Then comes another familiar feeling, a craving that seems impossible to ignore. You begin thinking about cookies, candy, pastries, chocolate, or a sugary drink. It feels almost automatic, as though your mind has decided for you. Many people blame themselves during moments like these. They think they simply lack discipline or have an unhealthy relationship with food. The truth is far more reassuring. Those cravings are not evidence of weak willpower. They are the result of thousands of years of human evolution. Your brain is programmed to protect itself. Whenever it senses that its fuel supply is dropping, it encourages you to seek the fastest possible source of energy. Sweet foods happen to provide exactly that. What feels like temptation is often nothing more than your biology doing precisely what it was designed to do. Think about someone who works in an office all day. They begin the morning feeling focused and productive. Lunch arrives, and they enjoy a sandwich, chips, and a soft drink. Everything seems perfectly normal. But by mid-afternoon, they can barely keep their eyes open. Numbers blur together on the computer screen. Meetings become difficult to follow. Eventually, they walk to the vending machine for a chocolate bar or a sugary snack. For many years, they may believe they simply have a sweet tooth. In reality, they are responding to a repeating cycle that begins with a sharp rise in blood sugar and ends with an equally dramatic drop. The snack provides temporary relief, pushing blood sugar back upward. Unfortunately, the cycle often repeats itself later in the day, creating another crash before evening arrives. Living through this pattern day after day is exhausting. It is not always physical exhaustion from working too hard. Instead, it is the constant effort your body makes to keep blood sugar within a healthy range. Every large spike requires another wave of insulin. Every rapid climb encourages another craving. Over months and years, the cycle becomes so familiar that many people assume it is simply part of getting older. But your body is quietly paying a price. Each time blood sugar rises sharply, your pancreas must respond by producing more insulin. At first, this is not a problem. The pancreas is remarkably efficient and easily handles occasional increases. However, when this demand continues several times every day for many years, the workload begins adding up. Imagine asking the same employee to work overtime every single day without proper rest. Initially, they perform well. Eventually, however, fatigue begins affecting performance. The same principle applies to the pancreas. Although it is incredibly resilient, it is not designed to operate under constant pressure forever. This brings us to an important condition that develops gradually rather than overnight: insulin resistance. In a healthy body, insulin acts like a key that unlocks the doors of your cells, allowing glucose to move inside where it can be used as energy. But after years of repeated exposure to high insulin levels, those cells slowly become less responsive. It is almost as though the locks become rusty. The key is still present, but opening the door becomes increasingly difficult. Your pancreas recognizes that glucose is remaining in the bloodstream longer than it should. To compensate, it releases even more insulin, hoping to force glucose into the cells. For a while, this strategy works. Blood sugar tests may still appear completely normal during routine medical checkups, leading many people to believe everything is fine. Yet subtle warning signs often begin appearing long before a diagnosis is ever made. You may notice stubborn weight accumulating around your waist despite eating roughly the same amount of food. You may feel tired even after sleeping well. Hunger seems to return shortly after finishing a meal, leaving you constantly searching for something else to eat. Cravings become stronger, especially for foods rich in sugar or refined carbohydrates. Because standard blood tests often remain within the normal range during these early stages, countless people dismiss these symptoms. They tell themselves they are simply getting older, working too much, or lacking motivation. In reality, their metabolism may already be sending quiet signals that deserve attention. The encouraging news is that this stage offers one of the greatest opportunities for change. Before insulin resistance progresses further, your body still has an incredible ability to recover. And one of the most powerful tools for doing that has been with you since the day you were born. Not inside a medicine cabinet, but inside your own muscles. That remarkable discovery is exactly where the science becomes even more fascinating. Your muscles do far more than help you walk, climb stairs, or carry groceries. In fact, they are among the most powerful organs in your entire metabolic system. Every time a muscle contracts, thousands of tiny energy factories inside it immediately get to work. Scientists call these structures mitochondria, but you do not need to remember the name. What matters is their job. They take in fuel, convert it into energy, and keep your body moving. When you spend hours sitting without much movement, these tiny energy factories operate at a very low level. Since your muscles are barely working, they require very little fuel. As a result, much of the glucose from your meal remains circulating in your bloodstream, waiting for insulin to move it somewhere else. Everything changes the moment your muscles begin working. Even a gentle contraction signals those energy factories to increase production. Suddenly, your muscles need more fuel, and they begin pulling glucose from your bloodstream to meet that demand. This alone is beneficial, but there is another remarkable process taking place behind the scenes. Normally, insulin acts like a key that unlocks muscle cells so glucose can enter. But during muscle contraction, your body activates an entirely different pathway. Instead of waiting for insulin to open the door, active muscles create their own entrance for glucose. In other words, they can absorb sugar directly from the bloodstream simply because they are working. This is one of the most fascinating features of human biology. It means that movement itself helps lower blood sugar, even before insulin has to do much of the work. As muscles continue contracting, more glucose leaves the bloodstream and enters the cells where it is burned as energy rather than stored as fat. That is why the first hour or so after eating is such an important window for your metabolism. During this period, blood sugar naturally begins rising as food is digested. If your muscles become active during this time, they eagerly absorb much of that incoming glucose. Instead of forcing your pancreas to release large amounts of insulin, your muscles quietly handle much of the workload themselves. Over time, this simple habit can make your entire metabolism more efficient. Your cells become more responsive to insulin, your pancreas experiences less stress, and your body becomes better at managing blood sugar after every meal. Consistency is the secret. One walk after lunch is certainly helpful, but the greatest improvements appear when movement becomes part of your daily routine. Small actions repeated every day often produce far greater benefits than intense exercise performed only occasionally. Now this brings us back to the hidden muscle we mentioned at the very beginning of this video. If you look at the back of your lower leg, the large muscle you can easily see is called the calf muscle. It creates that rounded shape most people recognize and helps you stand on your toes or jump. But underneath that larger muscle lies another one that receives very little attention. This deeper muscle is called the soleus. Although most people have never heard its name, researchers have become increasingly interested in it because of the unique way it uses energy. Unlike many other muscles that tire relatively quickly, the soleus is designed for endurance. It works throughout the day whenever you stand, maintain your posture, or walk. Because of this, it has an exceptional ability to consume glucose for long periods without becoming exhausted. A research team from the University of Houston decided to investigate whether activating this hidden muscle could influence blood sugar after meals. Their study, published in the peer-reviewed journal iScience in 2022, involved a surprisingly simple activity. Participants remained seated in a chair. They did not run. They did not lift weights. They did not perform an intense workout. Instead, they kept the front of their feet on the floor and slowly lifted their heels before lowering them again. The movement was gentle, controlled, and easy enough to perform while reading, watching television, working on a computer, or talking with someone. The findings amazed the researchers. Participants experienced dramatically smaller increases in blood sugar after eating. Even more impressive, their bodies required significantly less insulin to manage that glucose. In other words, Activating the soleus muscle allowed much of the sugar to be absorbed directly into working muscle tissue instead of relying almost entirely on the pancreas. That makes this simple heel movement one of the easiest ways to encourage healthy glucose control during the most important part of digestion. You can even try it right now. Place both feet comfortably on the floor. Keep the balls of your feet and your toes touching the ground. Slowly raise your heels as high as feels comfortable. Pause briefly, then lower them back down. Repeat the motion smoothly at a relaxed pace. There is no need to rush or force the movement. Gentle, steady repetitions are exactly what this muscle responds to best. Just 10 to 15 minutes after a meal can encourage your muscles to use more glucose while reducing the demand placed on your pancreas. But as effective as this hidden muscle is, it is not the only way to help your body process sugar more efficiently. In fact, there are several other everyday activities that may produce similar benefits, and they fit naturally into routines you are probably already following. One of the biggest misconceptions about managing blood sugar is that you need long, exhausting workouts to see meaningful results. In reality, your body often responds surprisingly well to short periods of movement performed at exactly the right time. The goal is not to exercise until you are exhausted. The goal is to encourage your muscles to begin using the glucose that has just entered your bloodstream. One of the easiest ways to accomplish this is by taking a short walk after eating. Researchers have repeatedly observed that people who move gently after meals experience much smaller increases in blood sugar compared to those who remain seated. The difference does not require power walking or jogging. Even a relaxed 10-minute stroll can activate enough muscle tissue to begin using glucose as fuel before it has a chance to remain circulating in your bloodstream. Think about how simple that really is. Instead of sitting on the couch immediately after dinner, take a slow walk around your neighborhood. If the weather is poor, walk through your home, climb a few flights of stairs, or simply pace while talking on the phone. The exact location matters far less than the fact that your muscles are moving. Each step recruits muscles throughout your legs, hips, and core. Those muscles immediately increase their energy demands, drawing glucose from the bloodstream to power their activity. Your pancreas no longer has to shoulder the entire burden alone. Another excellent option involves one of the most familiar bodyweight exercises ever created, the squat. Squats engage some of the largest muscles in your entire body, including your thighs, hips, and glutes. Because these muscles are so large, they consume substantial amounts of glucose whenever they become active. The movement itself does not have to be perfect or especially deep. Stand with your feet approximately shoulder width apart. Allow your toes to point slightly outward if that feels natural. Slowly bend your knees and lower yourself only as far as your comfort allows while keeping your chest lifted and your back straight. Then press through your feet to return to a standing position. Performing even a small number of controlled repetitions after eating can encourage these powerful muscles to begin using glucose almost immediately. The best part is that you can easily connect this habit with something you already do every day. For example, while waiting for your tea or coffee to brew, perform a few slow squats. While food is heating in the microwave, use those couple of minutes to activate your legs. By attaching movement to an existing routine, you remove the need for extra planning, making the habit much easier to maintain over time. There is another surprisingly effective activity that many people completely overlook because they never think of it as exercise: household chores. Cleaning the kitchen after dinner, washing dishes by hand, sweeping the floor, wiping down countertops, folding laundry, or putting groceries away all require continuous movement. Your arms, shoulders, back, and legs remain active for several minutes without feeling like a structured workout. Timing, however, makes all the difference. If these activities happen immediately after a meal, your muscles begin consuming glucose during the period when blood sugar is naturally increasing. Instead of remaining inactive, your body is already putting that incoming fuel to good use. This is one reason everyday movement can sometimes provide benefits that people never expect. You do not need expensive equipment or complicated workout plans to encourage healthier blood sugar control. Often, simply replacing sitting with gentle movement is enough to make a noticeable difference. What makes these strategies especially valuable is how easily they fit into real life. You do not have to wake up before sunrise to exercise. You do not need a gym membership or specialized clothing. You do not need to become an athlete. Whether you perform seated heel raises, take a 10-minute walk, complete a few bodyweight squats, or tidy the kitchen after dinner, the principle remains exactly the same. Active muscles use glucose, reducing the workload placed on your pancreas. There is another important reason why these habits become even more valuable as we grow older. Beginning around middle age, most adults naturally start losing muscle mass unless they actively work to preserve it. This gradual decline is a normal part of aging, but it has important consequences for metabolism. Less muscle means fewer tissues available to absorb glucose after meals. As muscle mass decreases, your pancreas must often work harder to keep blood sugar under control. Over many years, this additional demand can contribute to insulin resistance and make maintaining healthy glucose levels more difficult. The encouraging news is that muscles remain remarkably adaptable throughout life. Even later in adulthood, regular movement helps preserve muscle tissue, improves insulin sensitivity, and strengthens your body's ability to process glucose efficiently. It is never too late to begin supporting your metabolism through consistent daily activity. Many people expect dramatic changes overnight, but the real transformation usually happens gradually. Small improvements begin accumulating meal after meal, day after day, until one morning you realize something has changed. Your afternoon fatigue is no longer as intense. Your concentration lasts longer. Those powerful cravings that once seemed impossible to resist begin losing their influence. And perhaps most importantly, your body starts working with you instead of against you. Now that you understand how your muscles influence blood sugar, it becomes clear that protecting your metabolic health is not about chasing perfection.